All right. Good morning. How is everybody doing day after election day? So, yeah, doesn't matter what side you are on. Election day is a very, very charged event. There's a lot of people coming from both sides fighting, and there's a very, I'd say, like a icky feeling to it. Like for me personally, and I'm sorry if you hear my dryer going on in the background. I'm trying to get all my clothes dry and ready before I go on. I'm about to start traveling today. I'm getting on a plane in a few hours, so we're doing back-to-back retreats, so it should be fun. I'm going from one East Coast to the West Coast, so my time clock's good, like my internal time is going to be all messed up. Anyways, so with elections, there's a lot of turmoil in the air, and it doesn't matter if you're in the U.S. or not. You can see it on Facebook. You can see it by friends talking about it on the news. Like it's everywhere. So it's very hard to get away from that kind of stuff. Me personally, I don't watch the news, and a lot of my Facebook feed, because of the line of work that I'm in, because of the things that I search for and I click on, a lot of my feed is not political. So I am very grateful for that because no, it doesn't mean like my head's in the sand. It means that I'm protecting my energy. And it is very important, especially around this time, to take care of yourself. You know, drop into your body, see how you're feeling about things, and I'm not saying like brush it off or anything, but really try to breathe into it and do things that and it doesn't have to be breath either. It could just be anything that brings you down to earth, brings you back into your body. So we are going to do a grounding exercise at the end of this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about um, my morning message. So we did have a 3-minute message that I had sent out on Monday, 2 days ago, and I was talking about how the small things, as we get older, the small things start to not be as important anymore. So one of my friends had come to me and said, am I depressed or am I just numb? Because like I don't enjoy the things that I used to enjoy anymore, and the small things just really don't get to, or like the triggers aren't getting to me anymore. So like good and bad, right? The things that she used to really enjoy maybe aren't that enjoyable anymore, or maybe they don't excite her as much anymore. Conversely, the things that maybe really ticked her off are, she kind of brushes it off. So I'm in my 40s, and I noticed this as well. Like I would say, like, even in relationships, you can think about it in relationship terms. When you're first starting in a relationship, you're in like this honeymoon phase, right? And you're like, everything's perfect and they're perfect and these things don't bother me and whatever. Um, or you project yourself as this perfect person. You you tiptoe maybe around things that you perceive that somebody might not take in a well way or whatever. So you go through this honeymoon phase, and then eventually things start to trigger you. Like, oh my gosh, they're leaving trash on the table, or oh my gosh, they're going out with their friends again for the third time this week, and then they start to really get to you. So those triggers, they get really heightened, especially if you're in your younger years starting these relationships. And then eventually you don't sweat the small stuff. Like maybe there's big stuff. Yeah, you can sweat the big stuff still, but the small things aren't as bothersome anymore. Like me personally, like I've been with my husband for, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to do math. 16 years, 16, 17 years. So in the beginning, yes, we went through that phase, the honeymoon phase. Yes, I had the things that bugged me back then, the triggers that don't necessarily bug me now. Um, like I wanted all the attention on me when I was younger. Like I wanted him to be at home and spending time with me like all the time. So he didn't get to go out with his friends quite as much. Now I'm like, go, like I need my own time, you have your own time, and like we do things separately, and it's okay, like it doesn't bug me as much anymore. And that was more coming from like past traumas, past hurts, with feeling not good enough, like I didn't feel good enough or worthy or important. That was like some of my big things that I got to release as I got older and through this work. So it's actually a scientific thing. It's not just doing work on yourself, but it's also scientifically your brain. As we get older, your reticular activating system, or your RAS. I'm gonna say RAS because reticular activating system. I can say it like one or two times, and then I start to go blah 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 blah. Blah. So I've had caffeine today, by the way. But so when our reticular activating system starts to shrink, it's basically the RAS is a network of neurons that it sits in our brainstem, and it acts like a filter. So it's basically like where the amygdala is. We are collecting all of the things that have happened in our past, and especially when we're between the ages of 0 to 7, like those are our primary imprint ages, where we're taking in everything from our five senses as truth, and we're putting a label on things. We're labeling not necessarily our feelings, but we're labeling things as good or bad, and this turns into a filter that we run everything through this filter, and that's how we perceive the world. So if our filter is very much on that our good and bad spectrum, and of course our spectrum is going to be different depending on how we were raised, what culture we were in, if we're male or female, so our spectrum differs. And when we are running it through these filters, we we decide what's important. Basically, we decide what we should pay attention to. And our subconscious mind, like, it's taking in all of this information all of the time, and we're running it through our five senses, even if things that we wouldn't even think that we're really seeing, like something in the corner of our eye, we're actually seeing it in our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is collecting information at 5 million bits per second. So it's taking in 5 million bits per second and running it through the filters. And then we're only able to consciously, after we run it through our filters, we're only able to consciously interpret 134 bits per second. So out of all those millions, I think it's either 5 or 11, but it's a lot. It's a million, like it's millions of bits per second that's coming in through our subconscious mind, filtered through, and then coming out on our conscious mind in that 134 bits. And that's how we think, act, feel, behave. Even like our bodies, like if you get that like pit in your stomach over something that's happening, it's the body's way of reacting is through those filters that we set up as a kid, or like maybe something small happened as a kid, and then we got further evidence the more times that it happened throughout our kid, teenage, adult life. So we solidify these filters, we solidify these limiting beliefs, and they really set in. But when our reticular activating system is starting to look at how good I'm doing. I said it a few times now. As we're running it through our filters in our reticular activating system is starting to shrink, we start to change what's important to pay attention to. We know by default like what can be ignored, because think about it, like whenever you're learning to drive a car, you are very, very focused on, my hands go here, my mirrors are there, I'm checking, side to side, front to back, I'm giving a little gas, giving a little brake, you're very, very heightened and in tune with that consciously. And so at a certain point, like, it becomes automatic. So your conscious mind is no longer really paying attention to you driving. You're just doing it. And, sometimes you do have to like snap on the conscious mind and be like, oh, I got to pay attention to this. Somebody almost cut me off, or, whatever. But if you've ever driven home from somewhere and you completely forgot the entire ride, that's basically your subconscious mind taking over. This is also what we call highway hypnosis. You're technically in a trance-like state. So the things that are important, to pay attention to, yes, they're still important, but they're not like, you have to like very cautiously and consciously to, make sure that you're doing every little thing right, as if when you were first starting out. So when we're younger, our RAS is highly active. So we're taking in, like I said, all those little details, those everything from our senses that we're perceiving as truth and labeling it. And we react to every stimulus. And this is especially why, like with young children, they can be easily overwhelmed or overstimulated by their surroundings. And then as we age and our RAS starts to shrink, this means it becomes less sensitive to the external stimuli and more selective on what it focuses on. So again, how we experience the world, we're simply filtering out those less important details. It allows us to focus on what truly matters at the moment. So yes, we don't sweat the small stuff. We can tap into that greater sense of peace and calm. We have less mental chatter and fewer distractions. Now, that being said, I am a big mental person. Like, I have a lot of chatter that goes on in my head. So, I do have to choose what I focus on. Otherwise, I will be going like this in 17 different directions. But, it's just something to be mindful of. Like, it's not like there are gray areas. It's not black and white. But you're not being completely oblivious to your surroundings. You're basically just choosing what you focus on. You're filtering through, alerting us. We're still alert to potential threats and important cues, but it means we're more selective. So that being said, I am very selective on what I have in my feed, what I have in my environment, in my surroundings. So again, I choose to stay away from the news. I choose to, click on certain things on my Facebook so that I'm not inundated with the political stuff. So even though I did, shield myself from that, I created my boundaries on that, there is still a very emotional charge, a very energetic charge to this time right now. So I can still feel it energetically. I can still feel it around the people that I, work with, or people that come into my field. And like, it's, again, no matter what side you're on, there's a looming heaviness to it, because even if you are going one way or another way, or you don't care, like, there's implications to this, right? So shift your perspective, allow yourself to let go of the small things, focus on the things that bring you joy. You know, there's a lot in the news. They talk about all the bad things that happen, all the bad people out there. They focus on the bad, but you know what? There are more good people in this world than there are bad. And I truly, truly believe that. There are people that are helpers. There are people that are wanting to connect with others. There are people that are in this business that want to give. They want to be a change in this world. So think about it that way. Like it's the news is going to focus on the bad things and the negativity, but there are far more people out there that have a good heart. Like no matter what side they're on, there's a lot of people that they just enjoy helping other humans or animals too. Like there's a lot of really good people out there that are helping with animals. So just something to think about, something to shift your perspective around this tumultuous time. So another thing too is if you are spinning, if you're feeling like your mind is going 17 different directions, or you're starting to like where I come from, I was going into panic attacks before I found this work, and to the point like at work where I almost passed out a few times. So I wanted to do a grounding exercise that you can do anytime you're feeling that overwhelm. So what we're going to do, it's a 4-count breath. So we're going to do a 4-count inhale, 4-count hold, 4-count exhale, and then a 4-count hold. And we're going to connect to the core of the earth and to source, which source can be the universe, it could be source energy, it could be light, it could be God. Like it's whatever you want it to be. So don't get tripped up on my words or anything like that. It's for you. So you have the ability to change this how you want. So we're gonna go ahead and close your eyes. And if you are, of course, if you're safe to close your eyes, but if you are sitting down, I want you to notice your bottom in your seat and just how that feels. Notice where your feet are. If your feet are in shoes, just notice how your feet are in the shoes. And if you're standing, just notice your feet on the ground. Even wiggle your toes a little bit so that you can find each and every one of your toes. And so we're going to take our first inhale. So go ahead and breathe in deep and imagining that the soles of your feet are opening like doors. And then hold, imagining that a grounding cord is shooting out through the bottoms of your feet all the way down to the center of the earth. And exhale, imagining that your grounding cord, whether it be a beam of light or a chain or whatever you want it to be, or roots, grounding into the core, really solidifying its stance there. And then hold, feeling that energy from Mother Earth, from the core of the earth, shooting up into your body and feeling your light body. And then taking a few reset breaths. And now we're going to take an inhale in, imagining that the top of your head, the crown of your head, is opening like a door. And then shooting up your light source or connection, or however you want to see it, into the universe, into source energy. And then exhale, allowing that energy to run down through you. And then hold, just feeling what you feel, notice what you notice, all the tinglies of that energy running through your entire body. My dryer's done. All right, so open your eyes, breathe normal. I hope that was helpful. That is a good little grounding exercise to do at any point you feel like you're spinning, where your mind is racing or getting away from you. So, ooh, all my coconut milk went to the bottom of my coffee. So, next week, like I said, I'm going to be on a plane tonight, going from one retreat to another. And so next week, I believe it'll be 7 a.m. where I will be at, because I'll be in Puerto Vallarta. So that I should have nothing going on at that time. I'm going to be co-hosting with somebody. So we have a lot of events that are going on Wednesday, but I believe I should be able to get on with you guys, even if it's a little bit earlier, and just check in, see how everybody's doing. And of course, I appreciate you all for being in my community, for being here and coming on every single week to see the lives. Love you all. Bye.